In the late 2010s, Russia experienced an increase in internet penetration from 25% in 2008 to 53% in 2012. At that time, the internet was almost unregulated in the country, a truly free space, so it became a platform to voice political dissent. Civil activists were actively using LiveJournal, Twitter, Facebook, and other platforms to spread their ideas. After the unfair parliamentary elections of December 2011, protests erupted in Moscow. Social media played a crucial role in this. Many demonstrations, including the so-called Bolotnaya protest, were born through Facebook. The journalist Mikhail Fishman, who participated in those events, speaks about them as follows.
In the wake of the protest rally, which was supposed to get 300, 500 people, and he created this event. His name was Ilya Klishin, by the way, and the next morning he saw several thousands of those ready to come, and then the number just kept growing throughout these few days before the first major rally on December 10th, 2011. So Facebook played a crucial role.
In response to the growing civil activity on the internet, the Russian government increased its efforts to control the free digital space. What steps did it take? An executive body responsible for censorship in the media, the so-called RoskamNazar, already existed in Russia. The main purpose of this organization is to block illegal materials on the internet, such as child pornography and extremist content. Later, however, it became a tool for censoring dissent. In 2016, the parliament member Irina Yarovaya proposed a law that obliged internet providers to store all data about Russian citizens for 6 months within the country. Even more, they were obliged to provide this data to special services upon request. The implementation of this law has been described by experts as impossible and extremely expensive. In 2018, RoskamNazar started restricting access to the messenger Telegram because its founders refused to conform to the Yarovaya law. These actions led to interruptions in the work of other major websites, but failed to block Telegram in Russia entirely. In 2019, new initiatives were passed, such as a law on fake news and a law on insulting Russian authorities. Mikhail Fishman explains the state's motives behind these measures.
The idea is the same, to send the message, and the message is you keep quiet, you stay safer, and it obviously works.
But even today, with all the restrictive laws, the internet in Russia remains a place that can spark protest. A post on social media might trigger a public outcry. For example, in the summer of 2019, after the Russian journalist Evangeline was arrested on false drug dealing charges, the public outcry on social media was so high that even the leading business newspapers in the country showed their support for the journalist. Evangeline was freed, but he was not the only representative of civil society arrested that summer. During the protests prior to Moscow's parliamentary elections, about 20 people were put into prison, even though their protest was peaceful. The state reacts, and sometimes with brutal force. Among other things, the authorities continue to take legal measures to tighten their control of the digital space. On the 1st of November 2019, Russia's sovereign internet law came into effect. Commenting on the law, Vitaly Shklarov, a political consultant from Harvard University, compares it to the Great Firewall of China and immediately questions the law's technical viability.
We've seen an example of blocking of Telegram that this failed. And this is just one messenger. So just try to scale it just from technical point of view in the size of Russia, I don't think it's possible, first of all. Secondly, knowing how the government operates, if they really wish, and even if they had financial and technical capabilities to execute this scale of operation, knowing the Russian sort of like not effective, let's call it like fairly carefully, not effective way of management and political operation, it's just not possible to execute. And thirdly, I believe for every ban, for every law, there will be always some underground or not underground, like let's say legal or illegal opportunities to like get around it. Mm-hmm. So I don't see it coming. It's politically though really important to see how the mindset of Kremlin is and how people in the government are thinking, or in which reality they are living. If they're trying to block internet, so you can really be sure this is a generation of like 70s, 80s, or like 60s, let's say, like the generation of Windows 95, you know, who is trying like to live in the 21st century, 2019, and it's just ridiculous.
At the same time, Mr. Fishman notes that censoring Russian society is getting more difficult.
People want to express themselves, and more people are skeptical, and more people feel the need of talking and of some free discussion about what's going on. And we see it on YouTube, we see it in the internet, and it's certainly growing, nevertheless.
Will the restrictive laws, including the sovereign internet law, be effective? It is hard to say, as the struggle between the state and civil society still continues. But what we see clearly is that it becomes more and more difficult for the authorities to keep Russians quiet.